Welcome to the deep dive. We all search for understanding, for peace, maybe solutions to life's big challenges. It's just universal, isn't it?
It really is that fundamental human quest.
And many paths seem to lead towards a higher power. But the real question is, how do we actually progress in our devotion, in our bhakti? And interestingly, what role does divine guidance play? Is it all just us pushing?
Exactly. Or is there something else helping us along?
So today we're doing a deep dive into Gita for Joyful Living. We're looking specifically at Chapter 7, verses 20 to 23. The title is Progress to the Highest Level of Bhakti.
A really potent section.
Yeah. Our mission today is basically to unpack how people move from those, initial prayers, often driven by desires, through different stages, right up to the highest level of devotion.
And here's the really fascinating part. The sources suggest this isn't just about sheer grit and self-effort.
Right. It often seems to happen, well, almost automatically, as an act of divine grace.
Exactly. Think of it as a journey where our whole understanding of God, our relationship with the divine, it actually evolves. And it's guided,
Yeah.
Subtly guided by this larger force. It's not just what we believe, but how that understanding deepens.
Okay, so let's start with the concept of God itself, as the sources lay it out. It's quite a practical system they describe, might surprise some listeners.
It might. What's really helpful here is the analogy they use. Imagine God fully controls the universe, okay? But like a prime minister running a country.
Okay, like a head of state.
Precisely. The PM has absolute power, but governs through a cabinet, right? Ministers for finance, health, whatever.
Got it. Different departments.
Yeah. And the power a minister uses, say, the finance minister, it's not really their power. It's power given by the prime minister.
Delegated authority.
Exactly that. So similarly, the source explains God alone has the ultimate power, but it's exercised through many functional gods, each one responsible for a specific cosmic function.
So these aren't separate competing gods.
No, not independent entities. They're more like divine extensions.
Yeah.
Aspects of the one God. The different names we hear across religions, there's just different facets of this one system, all drawing power from that single source.
That clarifies things a lot. It makes the idea of multiple deities feel less confusing, more like a structured administration.
It does bring a certain logic to it, and understanding this structure is really key to grasping those first levels of bhakti. This is where most people start their journey.
Okay, let's zoom in there. The first and second levels of bhakti. What defines people at these initial stages, according to the sources?
Well, at these levels, the description is quite striking. It says their intelligence is often stolen by their desires of objects of the world.
Stolen by desires. What does that mean practically?
It means their focus is heavily on, worldly stuff, material gains, solving immediate problems. They aren't really digging deep into the ultimate nature of God.
So less philosophical inquiry, more practical needs.
Right. Instead, they tend to blindly believe in various functional gods, the ones described in the Vedas or other scriptures. They pick a specific god, often based on their own nature or what they need right then.
And they offer prayers.
Yes, prescribed prayers, specific rituals aimed at getting something specific, solving a problem, gaining wealth, health, protection, that kind of thing. It's quite transactional at this stage.
And this is crucial, the source says, these prayers are fulfilled by God. It works.
Yes, that's absolutely key. They are answered. But there's a condition, as you hinted.
The catch.
The catch, exactly. It's according to the eligibility of the people.
Eligibility. Okay, what determines that? Is it just random?
Not random, no. The eligibility comes from practicing Dharma. Dharma as prescribed in the Vedas.
And Dharma is?
It's described as something inherently known to all human beings, that basic sense of right and wrong, duty, ethical conduct. It's that inner moral compass.
So things like honesty, compassion, basic human decency.
Pretty much. The source notes that most people, actually, even people who might call themselves atheists, generally practice Dharma in their lives.
Interesting. But then why the variability in results? People pray, they try to be good. Why doesn't it always work out predictably?
Yes. That's the perplexing bit for many. The effort-result relationship, as the source calls it, is not strictly linear. You put in effort, you pray, but the outcome isn't always directly proportional.
Which must be confusing.
It is, and people who believe in these various functional gods often think the difference is down to, how they prayed or which god they prayed to. They attribute the variance to that, not necessarily seeing the underlying eligibility factor or the single source granting the results.
Right, they focus on the specific deity or ritual.
Exactly, and this is captured perfectly in verse 7.20 of the Gita. It says, let me get the phrasing. Governed by their own nature and being deprived of discrimination by various desires, people resort to other deities by taking to various disciplines of worship.
So, desires lead them to specific gods and rituals.
Precisely. When worldly desires are strong, that discrimination, the ability to see the ultimate source, is clouded. So they naturally turn to these specific forms, following the rules for worship associated with them. That's the starting point for so many.
Okay, so if that's the starting point for many praying to functional gods for worldly things,
Yeah.
how does this journey to the highest level actually happen? You mentioned it sounds almost automatic, like divine grace is pulling them along.
Yes, pulling them along is a good way to put it. It's less about them suddenly deciding to aim higher and more about a process unfolding. The sources actually detail this as a kind of 10-step journey. It really shows how God subtly guides everyone using their initial prayers as stepping stones.
10 steps. Okay, let's walk through that. That sounds fascinating.
Right. So first step, it often starts with a family deity or a personal god. You know how families often have a specific form of god they traditionally worship?
Yeah, through generations.
Exactly. A child grows up exposed to this deity through all the customs, festivals, stories. It just becomes their natural preferred god. Or sometimes people choose a personal god later based on their own feelings, what resonates with them. That's the initial connection point.
Yeah, the starting relationship. Makes sense.
Second, people naturally start praying to this personal god to fulfill wishes. The usual stuff, help me get through this illness, help me find a job, remove this suffering, grant me this desire. Very concrete, often worldly prayers.
The kind we just talked about on the initial levels.
Precisely. Then third, and this is absolutely crucial, such prayers are answered by God according to their impressions.
According to their impressions.
Mm-hmm.
What does impressions mean here? Is it like karma?
It seems very much related to that, yes. Their accumulated karmic balance, their inherent spiritual readiness, their past actions, God responds, but in a way that's perfectly tailored to them, to their spiritual account. It's not arbitrary. It demonstrates responsiveness, but within a larger system.
So the answers themselves are a form of guidance tailored to the individual.
You could definitely see it that way. Now, fourth, when these prayers are answered, remember, tailored answers, people's confidence in their personal God skyrockets. They think, wow, this works.
And they
Oh,
tell people, right?
exactly. They share stories. My God helped me with this, did that. This builds faith in the community, reinforces belief in that specific deity.
Spread the word.
Yeah. And fifth, this is really interesting. Even atheists hearing these success stories might start thinking. The source says, for want of a better explanation, they might become religious.
Wow. So observed results can actually overcome skepticism. It's not just about abstract belief.
It seems so. The tangible experience, direct or indirect, of answered prayers can be that initial spark. It shows the power of lived experience in shaping belief.
Okay, so faith is building, even spreading. What's next?
Sixth, people start consciously practicing Dharma, that ethical conduct we talked about. Why? Because they often see it as a kind of precondition to the grant of their prayers.
Ah, so doing good becomes linked to getting prayers answered.
Right. Whether that understanding is fully accurate or not, it encourages righteous living. So there's this positive reinforcement loop happening.
Okay, so we have answered prayers, growing faith, spreading belief, and better conduct. Sounds like people doing pretty well at this point.
Materially, yes.
Right.
That leads to the seventh step. Through this process, people often achieve significant material progress. They get richer, more comfortable, they get the job, the family, the health they prayed for. Worldly success happens.
That sounds like the goal achieved.
You'd think so, but here comes the pivot, the real turning point. The source says, by experience, they realize that irrespective of their material success, they do not gain peace of mind or everlasting happiness.
The aha moment, or maybe the uh-oh moment.
Maybe both. They have the stuff, the success, but there's still something missing. That deep, lasting peace, that profound happiness, it's not there. The worldly gains didn't deliver the ultimate prize.
That's huge. So the very success they prayed for leads them to realize its limits. That's not failure, is it? It feels more like learning.
Exactly. It's not failure at all. It's a divinely guided insight born from experience. And this realization, this disillusionment with purely material fulfillment, is what triggers the eighth step.
Which is?
They move up to the third level of bhakti. Now, things shift fundamentally. God, the ultimate reality, becomes their goal. Their personal God, the form they've been praying to, becomes the means to reach that goal.
So the focus changes.
Completely. They might still pray for worldly things like good health, but the reason changes. It's now for pursuing their spiritual progress and not as the ultimate goal. Health isn't the end goal. It's needed to pursue the spiritual path. See the difference?
Yeah, the intention is entirely different. It's about enabling the journey now, not just acquiring things.
Precisely. Then, ninth, when these prayers, the ones now aimed at spiritual progress with God as the goal, are answered, these people move up again. They reach the highest level of bhakti.
So answered prayers continue to confirm the path, even at this higher level.
Yes, the divine responsiveness continues, solidifying their devotion and deepening their understanding. And finally, 10th, at this ultimate stage, they have the final realization. The personal gods are mere extensions of the God. There is nothing but God.
Wow, full circle.
Exactly. All the different forms, the functional deities, their own personal God, they see it all now as just expressions, facets of the one single supreme reality. The fragmented view dissolves into oneness. That's the pinnacle.
That whole sequence is just incredible. It really drives home that divine grace aspect. The source literally says, thus, God guides all the people to the highest level of bhakti by answering the prayers to their personal God. It's not just us figuring it out. God is actively using the process, using our initial prayers to lead us home.
It is incredible. And the Gita verses you mentioned earlier, 7.21 and 7.22, they lock this down perfectly. Remember 7.21, whichever devotee desires to worship faithfully any particular deity, I stabilize that very faith of the devotee.
God strengthens the faith in whatever form they choose.
Yes. It's like God says, okay, you connect with this form, I'll meet you there and make that connection stronger. And then 7.22 follows up. Endowed with such a faith, he seeks favors of a particular deity and obtains all his desires, which are indeed granted by me alone.
Granted by me alone, even if they're praying to a specific deity.
Exactly. It shows God working through that chosen form, answering the prayer, providing the result, but subtly guiding the devotee all along, even if they aren't aware initially that the ultimate source is singular. It's a beautiful interplay.
So we see this progression, guided by God through different levels. What about the end result? If there are levels, does everyone end up in the same place?
Yeah.
Verse 7.23 seem to address this.
It does address the outcome directly. It raises that important point about the fruit of one's devotion, depending on the level of understanding. Verse 7.23 says, that result accruing to those indiscriminate ones is indeed finite.
Indiscriminate ones,
Yeah.
meaning those still focused on the functional gods without seeing the bigger picture, or focused only on temporary gains.
That seems to be the implication, yes. Those whose understanding hasn't yet fully grasped the oneness, or whose prayers are still primarily for finite worldly things. The verse continues, the worshippers of gods attain the gods.
Meaning they get the specific limited blessings associated with those functional deities.
Right. They attain those finite results, the temporary benefits, the worldly successes they prayed for, which is fine, but limited. But then the verse concludes, the worshippers of me attain me only.
So those who progress, who understand and worship the one ultimate God.
They attain the infinite. They don't just get temporary results. They achieve union with the divine itself, a lasting state. It makes it very clear. The depth of your understanding and the ultimate focus of your devotion determines your destination. It's a journey from finite to infinite.
What a journey. This whole deep dive, it really paints a picture of bhakti not just as effort, but as this unfolding path where even our most basic material desires can become, surprisingly, the first steps. Steps guided by divine grace, leading us through experience, both getting what we want and realizing it's not enough towards a much deeper spiritual understanding.
It truly is profound. From connecting with a personal deity, experiencing answered prayers, realizing the limits of material gain, and finally arriving at that realization that there is nothing but God. It's all orchestrated in a way.
It really makes you think. If all prayers ultimately come from and are answered by the one God, and worshiping that one God leads directly to him, what does that really say about our own desires? About the paths we find ourselves on, maybe without even consciously choosing them? How is our journey unfolding? What stands out most to you listening to this about this incredible, divinely guided journey of bhakti?